Okay, we're gonna get going, guys. Welcome everybody in person and in the online. Good to see everybody. So we're gonna have 2 classes this week, today and then the Wednesday class also. And then I will be away in the wilderness next week, and then back on again after that, back to normal until Rosh Hashanah time. So looking forward to learning with everybody. We're really getting close to the end of this story though. So let's get going. So if you want to, the last year that we had, we were speaking about all of we put forth 7 points of what it is that we need tzaddikim for. What it is that the great righteous people, the leaders, the tzaddikim, the Talmidei Chachamim, what it is that they give for us, which was a very special class. If you didn't see that one, I suggest you go back and check it out. And today we're going to continue. We are in the Garden of Wisdom. We are on page 289, about to begin a new section. But we're going to start today learning from Rav Kivak some of the aspects of this whole thing. And let's see. We were talking about the inyan of the tzaddik because in the story they finally come to this place, the Chochom, the quote-unquote Chochom, and his wise companion, quote-unquote wise companion, right? They come to a certain city, and it's the city where the Tam lives, and they hear that there in this city there's a Baal Shem, right? A master of the divine names, a big tzaddik, and this big tzaddik is beloved by everybody in the city, and even by the non-Jews in the city, he's beloved. But they right away, as we said, since the Chacham cannot take that his ego cannot take the fact that there's someone great, better than him, he right away moves into the mode of ridiculing and mocking this Baal Shem and saying how, this is silliness, it's stupidity, what are you guys doing, you're wrong, how could you follow such a person? And he begins to get himself into trouble. And that's where we're starting today. Last time we talked about the amazing importance of connecting to the big tzaddikim and what they give. They give us everything. And all of Jewish history is built on Klal Yisrael having a connection with the righteous people of a generation, with the tzaddikim. From the time of Vayaminu b'Hashem u'v'Moshe Avdoi, where it says in the Shir HaSayom, the song by the sea, that they believed in Hashem and Moses his servant. From that time, way back when, all the way till now, there's always big tzaddikim in every generation that are like the Moshe Rabbeinu of each time, and Hashem wants it that we should. That's how we should be. We should connect to Him through these great neshamas, great souls that are able to take that light of Hashem that may be too much for us, or maybe too distant from us, and able to help us to reach it. That's what they do. They help us to reach Hashem closer. And that's where we find ourselves now. That the quote unquote Chacham, the wise guy, the wisecracker, and his companion come to the city, and that's what they find. So I'm going to read for the most part of this class from Rav Kivak. There's some very, very special ideas here. But to begin with, he explains over here that the first thing he sees is that this Baal Shem was chashuv meod, was very, very, very beloved and important amongst all the people over there. 1 second. Yeah, okay. Ve'elu hachachamim, and these 2 wise guys, ba'al lo'is, they come to the city, v'hochu v'savavu ba'al livnei beis Baal Shem, and they travel around and they circle until they get in front of the house of the Baal Shem, of this big tzaddik. V'ra'u shayu oimdim sham kama agalais, and they see that surrounding this house are many wagons, arba'im v'chamishim im cholim, 40, 50 wagons with sick people in them, right? So the first thing that he explains over here is that nothing is accidental in these stories, and that the number 40 alludes to the number that it says in Pirkei Avos, Arba'im Labina, that 40 in the 40th year of a person's life, they reach a level of bina, of deep spiritual understanding. And this is referring to the fact that why are people coming to see this person? Because he has such a deep, amazing spiritual connection and understanding of the Ribono Shel Olam that everybody has gathered in front of him. And 50, what's the number 50 for? We have the concept of the Nun Shari Bina. Once again, the 50 gates of deep spiritual understanding. It's to tell us, he's hinting to us, that all of these people are gathering around this person because he has the deepest abilities and levels of spiritual understanding. That's why they're coming to him. And they're cholim, they're sick. So they're coming to him to have a refuah, because such a person is able through his greatness to give a refuah shlema to people. So the first thing I want to say over here is something very, very sweet. Now, for some people, when they hear things like this, they don't think it's sweet, and they think that it looks bad or it looks wrong, right? So I got maybe two kind of personal accounts of this idea. Okay, so here's how it goes. So the people coming to the tzaddik, we're calling that they're sick, right? So I want to tell you first a story about Uman. So one of my friends, who I won't say his name here right now, just because I don't know if he wants me to, but he came to Uman for the first time, and as sometimes happens, I think there's over 100 different minyanim in Uman for Rosh Hashanah. And so he's trying to find his place. And there's a lot of different things. There's a minyan with like a few thousand Yemenites, a minyan with a few thousand Sfardim. There's the big klois with like 5,000 like Yerushalmi Chasidim. And then you got, all these other different things. There's all kinds of minyanim, right? Crazy things. So he's having trouble finding his place and where to fit in and exactly what to do. And how do I, Uman is a very, very intense place. And when you go to the grave of Rebbe Nachman, he doesn't just give you warm fuzzies. It's intensity, right? And he's going to awaken things in you. And it's a little bit, it could be difficult at first when you go there, because things come up, things from within come up. So this person, Yaakov Klein is in this story, by the way. This person, he was struggling a little bit, and he was walking around going to different places, and he found in one place, beautiful place called Nekuda Tova, which is a group of Breslevers, started in New York, I think. I think they have a place in Eretz Yisrael now also, but they're kind of like the sort of like young guys who are sort of like, they like to sing a lot, not really into like dressing a certain way or anything, just kind of nice, easygoing young guys who like to sing a lot, but they're also intense. He finds himself at this place, and there he runs into, right outside, Rabbi Yaakov Klein also. So he tells a little bit to Rabbi Yaakov Klein about what's going on with him and how he's having a hard time, right? So Yaakov Klein tells him this analogy, and when he told me this analogy, I was like, oh, this makes sense exactly. He says, Uman is like one big hospital. And in the hospital, there's many different wards. And there's different types of refuahs that different people need. And everybody comes, why? Because something's just not right. They need a tikkun. They come because they need a tikkun. They need a rectification. They need a repair. They need a refuah. So they come. And for this person over here is going to be good. For this person over here is going to be good. But they're all going to be coming around the CEO of the hospital, Rebbe Nachman, who's going to give them something. And so, as we know, when you need a refuah, it's not always pleasant. And things get brought up that you have to deal with, right? So this is what he experienced over there, and this is one of the beautiful aspects of tzaddikim, and particularly in the story of Rebbe Nachman. And so this is what happens, when you go to such a place, is that you have an opportunity to experience a refuah and to experience a tikkun in such a place, right? But you may not get it. if you're too much of a smarty pants, right? Why? How does it happen? So here's the second story. I once had a chavrusa who learned in a very, very, very serious type of yeshiva for many years. Not the Breslov kind of yeshiva, and I won't get into too many details, but the very, particular type of, I don't really want to give too many details, but the ones who are like, by the book, very, certainly not into Hasidus, that's for sure, right? And so the Rosh Yeshiva of this place is mamish from the old school, very much from the old school. And so he was talking to this boy one time about, the young man, about Hasidus. And he said, "Das ist nicht für uns. This is not for us." Right? This is not for us. Why? Because he's like, this is for people who are sick. This is not for us. Right? This goes back, when I say this is from the old school, one of the very, very last holdouts of the Hisnagdus, of the opposition to the Hasidim, from the way back when, from the old school, right? And so this is what he said. That's not for us, that's for sick people. And so I think in my early years, when I first started learning Breslev, it probably would upset me. But I was like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. This is for people who are sick. Right? And the problem is that if a person thinks they're perfect and thinks there's nothing wrong with them, then they're going to say, I don't need this. This is not for me. Yeah. I don't need this at all. But when a person is ready to open up and say, there's something missing, there's something wrong, I have things that I need to fix, and I'm not there yet, then they're open to such a thing. And then they can go to the doctor. Then they can go to the doctor. Then they can go to the tzaddik, or then they can go to Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? But imagine if someone, there were a few characters throughout the Torah who didn't want to go to Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Korach, Dasan, Aviram, right? Maybe Nadav and Avihu, according to one way of understanding them. But what happened to the people that didn't want to go to Moshe Rabbeinu? Hashem said, guys, not happening. You're out. Done. Game over. The earth is swallowing you up. You got to try again. You missed the whole way that I set everything up, said Hashem. Right? We got to go to the doctor. And we have to be humble enough that we're willing to say, you know what, there's things that are wrong with me. I need to be fixed. I need a refuah, and I'm here to receive. Right? And this is what everybody was coming around. This is what Rebbe Nachman is telling us over here. How there were these 40 and 50 wagons full of sick people coming to the Baal Shem for a refuah, because this is what he can do. Right? Woo-wee. Ve'achacham asatois gadol bezeh shizkir lachalek al Baal Shem. So the Chacham makes a huge mistake. So let's read the story. V'savar hachacham shesham dar doctor. The Chacham thought that a doctor lives in this place. So many sick people are coming. It must be a doctor, like a medical professional. And he wanted to go into his house. Machmas shegam hu haya doctor gadol, because he also trained himself as a medical doctor. And he wanted to go and shmooze with him about how great they are because they're doctors, right? Vishal mi darbakan. So he asked, who lives in here in this place? Heshivu Baal Shem. And they answered, a Baal Shem lives in this place. A big tzaddik, a master of divine spiritual energies. He started laughing. This is lies. This is all silliness and lies. And this is even a bigger shtus, even a bigger silliness than the fact that everyone thinks there's such thing as a king. If you remember back to our story, I know it's been a while, but the Chochom decided that the king doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the king, right? And he dug his heels in. That's what he's saying. And now he's saying, oh, this guy, that's even worse than the king. Yeah? Chaveri, asaper lecha hasheker hazeh. My friend, I'm going to tell you what all this lies is about. Kama v'chama ha'olam b'toros v'sheker kazeh. The world is so messed up in this sheker that they think this is the truth. Oh, let me tell you. So it says, Rebbe Kivak, the Chacham is making a huge mistake here. That here, right now, he's coming now to go against the Baal Shem. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he orchestrates things with many, many different ways for a person. In order to bring a person to their tikkun, to get their fix, to get their refuah. And everything that happens, every single thing that happens with a person, he gets a little bit more of a fix, like a repair, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more of a spiritual rectification, little by little. Esatoiv min hara, the bearer of toiv min hara. He separates out the negative parts of himself and highlights the good. Until the person merits to get to his tikkun, to his ultimate refuah. He says like this. So first of all, you hear what we're saying over here? That we have to remember that everything that happens to us is Hashem putting us in a place where there's something that we can learn. There's something that can have an effect on us on a deep level that is going to somehow be for our benefit. Right? It's going to fix that thing that's wrong with us. Everywhere we go, little by little, this is going to happen. And we just have to not be like the guy we were talking about before. We have to be ready to say, I want help. I want a refuah. I want to be healed. That's what we have to be able to say. And the Chochom cannot say such a thing. He can't do it. If he wouldn't have argued against the Baal Shem at this point, he would have very, very quickly and easily been able to achieve his tikkun there. He was on the right track over here, right? But since he remained his stubborn self, and he brazenly started arguing against the Baal Shem, he had to go down and experience a number of aspects of suffering until he gets to his tikkun. Right? He was right there at the door. He's going to say it in another place, someplace soon here, we'll probably say it, that the whole, where is the tikkun of the Chochom coming from? What is he missing?
Humility.
He's missing humility, and the other side of the story, he's missing tamimus. He's missing the tam part, right? So Hashem's making this whole thing happen, and he's going to find himself soon, not yet, at the doorstep of the tam. He's right now at the door, he's literally at the doorstep of the Baal Shem here, who is the master of tamimus, even higher than the tam, right? He's at the place, he's ready for his tikkun. It could happen right now. But he can't get over his stubbornness, he can't get over his ego, and he keeps pushing and keeps fighting. So now what's going to happen? He was right there at the doorstep, he's going to have to experience suffering, experience trials and tribulations, until he gets another chance. Right? Because he's not breaking. He's not breaking. You hear this? Oy vavoy.
Rabbi, what's tmimus again?
Tmimus is simplicity.
Simplicity.
Right? Yeah. Right. So he goes over here, and the place of the, and here the story continues. At this point they were hungry. They still had they had 3 or 4 coins. And so they headed over to the soup kitchen, which is called a gorkich in Yiddish. V'sham moitzim lechol afilu ba'ad shloisha v'arba, and over there in that place you could eat a meal even for the small amount of money that they had. So they went. So there's a few points over here that he says, but we're not going to get into them. But what do we see over here? That they're coming to the place of trying to come to the tzaddik. And the place of the tzaddik is the place where he's going. So they say Gimel and Dalet, right? So he says they'll stand for Gimel Dalim, the person who sustains the downtrodden, the person who lifts up those who are low down, right? So they're coming to such a place, and if they play their cards right, they can get to the tzaddik. They can experience an aliyah. They can be lifted up, right? This is what the tzaddik does. The tzaddik, he's showing us over here. The tzaddik gives us a refuah, is like a spiritual doctor. The tzaddik helps to sustain us and give us vitality, right? To help with our lives in general. And this is where they are, but they're not. It's not gonna go. Let's see what happens. So they said to give them food, so they give them food. And while they were eating, they started mocking and talking about the falsehood of the Baal Shem, of the story. And the guy who runs the soup kitchen heard what they were saying, and he got very angry. Because the Baal Shem was very, very much respected in this place. Eat what's on your plate and get out of here. Already, enough. And then afterwards, the Ben HaBaal Shem came to this place. The son of the Baal Shem came to this place. So what does this mean now? Right? They came to the doorstep of the Baal Shem, and they start making fun of him right away. They don't want to go anywhere near him. Right? So they go to the place where they can be sustained a little bit, and the Ben HaBaal Shem comes. What does that mean? So Rav Kivak says, Ben HaBaal Shem, hu or HaTzadik. That's the light of the tzaddik, sheyored u'mishtalesh lemadregos nemuchas, that descends and comes down to the lower levels. Laha'ir lenafshosh shenaflu me'oid, to illuminate those souls that have fallen very far. V'tzaddik sheleach gam lahem hisoros, even to them, the tzaddik is sending awakening. V'chinas aye mekoim kevoide, like the Torah of Rebbe Nachman, in the second part of the Kutim Ran, Torah Yud Beis, which is called aye. In order to help them. So in other words, one of the beautiful characteristics of the of the tzaddik is that the tzaddik is not out for only the top people, right? The tzaddik cares about the little people, and cares what?
Everybody
evenly.
Sure, yeah, yes. Yeah, just not only about the big people. Yeah, and so what do we see? I think we've said this so many times, but it's one of these ideas that we say about the tzaddikim, that they're able to knock down the high people and lift up the low people, right? Because the low people need a lift. They need some encouragement. They need help. But the high people, meaning the arrogant people, need to be knocked down, and connecting to a tzaddik does both of these things, depending on who you are, right? And so there's another famous story from Rebbe Nachman, which we might look into one of these times after we finish this one, which is they usually call it in English the Turkey Prince. Yeah? Great story. And the whole essence of that story is really that in the story, we'll just say the pratim of it, but the king has a son who goes crazy, and he thinks he's a turkey. So he takes off all his clothes and goes under the table and starts pecking around and gobble all over the place, and behaving like a turkey. And he brings in all the people he can find to help to try to get him back, and they try everything they can. They try to force clothing back on him. They try to yell at him. They try to do this, try to do that, and no one's helping. He brings in the best doctors, the best psychologists, everything. Nothing works until he finally the tzaddik comes. And what does the tzaddik do? He takes off his shirt and he goes under the table and starts gobbling around. And he says, "Oh, you're a turkey? I could be a turkey too. But we could be turkeys and we can also go and sit on chairs." And he slowly starts to, right? The idea of the story really, though, is that on the surface level anyway, is that to be a tzaddik, dare I say, on a lower level, to be a good person, to be a good friend, right? Someone who cares about people. Sometimes you have to go, you don't stand on top and tell people what's wrong with them, right? You got to go down with them, right? Either down to a place, to their level where they can understand you, or sometimes a person's just in pain. And you know what? They don't need you to say anything. They just need you to be down there with them, And if you spend time with them and you give them a hand to hold in that place, then that's enough to bring them up, right? So he's saying over here that the Baal Shem he sends. So what does he do? He sends out the Ben HaBaal Shem. The Ben HaBaal Shem is the light that the tzaddik sends out to the people who are low, who need to be lifted up. So they weren't willing to knock at the door over here, right? So he sent another opportunity. So what do you think they do? Should we take wagers at this point? What they're going to do? I don't think it'll go well. They kept still mocking the Baal Shem, the tzaddik, in front of his son. And the owner of the soup kitchen got very upset with him. That they were mocking the Baal Shem in front of his child, in front of his son. Until he started beating them up, mamish, beating them up and bruising them and sending them out, pushing them out of the house, right? Like in the saloon doors, right through, and out they went. And he got very mad at them. So they wanted now to take this guy to court because he beat them up. He started beating them up. So they decided first they're going to go to the landlord where they left their stuff. To ask him, get advice, how are they going to go and take this guy to court? How are they going to sue him? And so he came there and they told their landlord guy how the owner of the Airbnb they were at, how the guy at the soup kitchen beat them up. So he asked, why? What happened? Why did he do that to you? And they told him that they were making fun of the Baal Shem. So he answered them, you're right. It's not proper to beat a person up. But you guys did very wrong what you did. That you spoke negatively about the Baal Shem. Because he's very, very much respected here. What are you doing? So they saw that this guy also doesn't get it. That's what they think now. This guy's also stupid. So they went to one of the I guess an official, whatever, in the city, and they told him the story, right? So it says over here, Rebbe Nachman says, like one of the non-Jewish city officials, right? And they tell him what happened. It's probably from the courthouse, maybe, I don't know. That this guy beat him up. So he asked them, why? Why did he beat you up? So they told this court official, I think it's a court official, that they were speaking bad about the Baal Shem. And this non-Jewish official beat them up and bruised them and threw them through the saloon doors also, and kicked them out of his house. And they went from one official to another, trying to get higher and higher, until they got finally to this high-level minister, who of course is the Tam, right, after his ascent. The Sham Lifnei Beis HaMinister Oimdim Anshe Chayal, and there, in front of the house of the minister, there were soldiers. Dahainu Wachen, that's Yiddish for like watchmen. V'haidiu laHaMinister she'ish echad tzarech elav, and they told the minister that there's a certain guy who wants to speak to you. V'tziva sheyichnas, and he commanded them to bring him in. Uba oisei HaChochom lifnei HaMinister, and the Chochom came in front of the minister now. So let's see what Rav Kiva got for us over here. Before we get there, I just want to see one of the things that Rabbi Arush says over here on page, where is it? On page hold on, page 294. is he says over there, just a beautiful little understanding over here, that you see that the Chochom is like he hasn't changed his stripes, right? And he as soon as he gets to this place, he leaves his friend behind and goes in. Why? Because he sees that he got to a place where there's someone important. Now he doesn't care about his friend anymore, right? This is one of the traits of the Chochom that Rabbi Arush brings out. But what do we see the opposite from the minister, the Tam? Is that some guy comes to his door. He's the minister. They're walking up to whatever the I don't know, what's the Prime Minister's address in Canada, Ottawa? 10 Downing is in England, right?
Right.
So they came. I don't know why I know that one, but so they came there to knock on the door. There's guards and everything, right? And what is he could say, go see one of the MPPs, go see the MP, whatever it is, go see the mayor, go see whatever. You got to come to see the guy who runs the whole place, right? But no, he says, okay. He's still humble. Someone wants to speak to me. It doesn't matter who it is. I'll speak to them, right? Sweet trait of the Tam, right? He's open and ready to speak to anyone without worrying about his own stature. Yeah. So let's see what Rav Kivak says over here. Yesh levaher Moshe Rabbeinu Masapa. So we're gonna get. This is a very, very hard-hitting, important idea. A little bit long, so stick with me, okay? Yesh levaher Moshe Rabbeinu Masapa lanu hishtalshelus hatikun shel Chochom. We have to understand over here that Rebbe Nachman is explaining for us the way that the tikkun of the rectification of the Chochom is going to unfold. The whole story, the whole framework through which it unfolds. It begins over here, right now, where he starts fighting with the son of the Baal Shem. And through this, he gets hit. V'darash mishpat al makoisai. And he demands, mishpat means judgment on this that he's been hit. Until it keeps going and going and going, until he comes before the Tam now, right? So what's going on? Okay, so this is going to be something interesting. Why? Because he never really sought out proper mishpat, judgment, in his his entire life. Even though through the whole thing he said over and over again that he stopped to be meyashev das, to settle his mind, right? And that really is an aspect of mishpat. So we have to first understand these two words. These two words have a lot of meaning in the Torah of Rebbe Nachman. So yeshiva das, we usually translate it as a settled mind, right? But I would say really, it also has a connotation of being like, I have defined what I need to do. I've settled, decided, figured out what I need to do. Yeshiva das in breslev talk is often associated with hisbodedus, because a person who engages in hisbodedus comes out of this experience and is all of a sudden like, why do I have yeshiva das? Because I'm well thought out. I've talked to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I've tried to determine what is the right course of my life to take. What? Clarity. I have clarity, right? And it has to do with this concept. And mishpat is the same thing. Mishpat means making a judgment, right? Making a judgment. Let's see. Let's see what making a judgment means, okay? Because he's doing it wrong. Well, let's see. The problem is, by the Chochom, even though he was saying that he was doing mishpat and yeshiva das, he was not doing true mishpat in his life at all. True judgment. Ki mishpat, because of mishpat, here, you wanted you want the definition? The Rav Kivak Breslev definition of what yeshiva das is? I'm underlining it with two different colors of pen. It's so important. Okay, ki mishpat hu chibur haseichel v'hatamimus. It's a joining together of wisdom and simplicity. Sheshoichel uboichen kol davar, that a person is shoichel, a person weighs and tests, he considers everything that he's doing, kol davar sha'oseh, ha'im hadavar hatoiv lifnei Hashem yisbarach or love. Is this thing going to be considered good in Hashem's eyes or not? That's it. That's what it means. Mishpat and Yishuv Hadas. But the Chochom, since he's going, his whole thing is just going after his intellects, his intellectual fantasies. What does it mean? He's always going to see, how can I be successful in this thing and become more important? How can I raise my ego? How can I raise myself up? That's all he's thinking. Not this aspect of mishpat, which is this what the Hashem wants me to do or not? Right? This is the two differences over here. That's real mishpat. Even his form of settled mind, Yishuv Hadas, will this thing give me success or not? Will this thing give me prominence? Will this thing give me money? That's his version of Yishuv Hadas and Mishpat. V'loi shafat ez atzmoi. But he's not doing Mishpat. He's not judging himself at all. That's the second double underline over here. V'loi shafat ez atzmoi. He's not judging himself. Are my actions going in line with Ratzon Hashem? Is this what Hashem wants me to do? Am I following Ratzon Hashem? No. He's not judging himself whatsoever. Since he's always only thinking about himself, how is he going to find success? Not what does Hashem want? Not what's right to happen right now. What is Ratzon Hashem? Am I going to be successful over here? Even his form of Yishuv Hadas, of having a settled mind, leaves him. He loses it. Right? Vehichlit ba'akshanas. And he decides to take the path of stubbornness. Shetamid hu hatzodik b'chol davar. That he's always right, no matter what. He's not backing down. Try your hardest not to think of a person in your head. I know, that's what we're all thinking. And because of this, it's because of this way of thought that he was always bitter about first the tabas. Remember the ring that he made, and it wasn't exactly, or the guy didn't like it exactly, whatever it was, right? And when he was a doctor, he was able to make a guy feel better, but then someone else got the credit, right? So because it always comes back to him and his sense of ego, he's never happy. He's always been merirus, bitterness. He's always bitter and unhappy, this poor guy. And everything else, all the other terrible, confusing things that happen to him. He's not able to change his way of thinking, to think about upright judgment, proper judgment. Why do I find myself? He doesn't even ask that simple question. Why do I continually find myself in such a situation of bitterness? What's wrong? What am I doing? He doesn't ask, what am I doing wrong that I keep finding myself in a place of bitterness? He doesn't get it. He doesn't know how to judge himself whatsoever. So through this, Hashem makes it happen that he gets hit. He gets hit, like literally, physically hit. And through this, he is forced to go now and seek mishpat. You see what he's saying over here? Every detail of the story is telling us something specific and deep. This guy never judged himself a moment in his whole entire life. Hashem's orchestrating everything to happen that he finds himself in a situation where he's now pursuing judgment or justice against someone else, to put him in that frame of mind, in that place. And there he finds in that place the judge. Who's the judge? Hatam ba'atzmoi. It's the Tam himself, his old friend the Tam. And then he'll be able to help him. He'll be able to help him have order in his life, to get back on the right track. Right? And we have to also see that this all only begins to happen right after he begins to start dealing with the son of the Baal Shem. Or HaTzadik. Which is the light of the tzaddik that comes into the lowest levels, right? Like we think right now, it seems like he's getting worse and worse, and he is, right? But it seems like it's bad, right? But really, this is happening right after he engages with the light of the tzaddik. This now that's happening to him, that he feels like he's getting beaten up and he's got to go find judgment, that is all a chesed. That's all part of his tikkun. It's all a chesed from the Rebbe Nachman, putting him in the right place, putting him in front of the Tam, who is the place of his tikkun, the place where he's going to get a refuah, the place where everything's going to come together. It's all on purpose. It's all hashgacha pratis. He's all being guided to that place. Because the tikkun for the Chochom is now going to come through the Baal Shem or through his son. Vila minister levad, and the Tam, the minister now that he's by, with the power of his tmimus, he missed his chance with this guy. This guy's not powerful enough anymore. The Tam cannot help him, right? The Tam is also going to need the Baal Shem to help him. And by the way, like I said the last time, we don't mind giving away the end over here. There's no spoiler alerts. In the end, his tikkun is going to come from the Baal Shem, and the Tam is going to bring the Baal Shem to him, right? But he's not there yet. But the point is over here. What a special, amazing, beautiful point. We got a great story to nail this point in. He just thinks everything that's happening to him is for the worst, right? The whole world is crazy. They don't know what they're doing, and I'm getting hit. I keep getting hit and hit and hit and hit. I got to find justice. I'm gonna sue these people. I'm gonna get the high lawyer or whatever, and I'm gonna take care of this, and then it gets worse. Then other people start beating him up, right? It keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and he thinks it's the worst thing that's happening to him, but really it's not, right? And really Hashem is putting him exactly where he needs to be, right? And giving him the opportunities that he's going to need. So listen to the story. What a story! The story was told to me by our good friend Rabbi Jax, and so. The story is about a boat, and he actually has met people that were on this boat. Okay, so listen to the story. This story happened during the Second World War, during the time of the Holocaust, and there was a certain boat that was able to make it out of Germany with a bunch of German Jews on it. Right? So these German Jews, they packed up whatever they could pack up, valuables and their precious items, whatever. And they loaded up on this boat, and the boat actually made it out and made it to England. So the boat pulls up to England, and they're like, what are we going to do with these people? Because on the one hand, it was late enough in the war already that they knew if they would send them back to Germany that they're going to be killed right away. But also, they're Germans, they're literally the enemy. Like, they're German citizens, right? As many of the Jews were. Right? They spoke German, right? So they didn't know what to do. So I don't think he says it this way, but what do the English do when they have a bunch of people that they want to get rid of and not keep on their soil?
Send to Australia.
Send them to Australia. Exactly. So what they do is they hire an actual pirate to take the ship. Don't fly any flags. Pirate ship, no flags flying. You're going to go and you're going to travel from England to Australia, and then the people will be safe there. Rabbi Jax spent time in Australia. He was a rabbi over there for many years. So he met people in Australia who were on this boat, right? So anyway, they're going through, and what happens is a little way through the journey. They're still close to Europe. So the pirates, they start to realize, oh, they got German citizens on here, Jews. They're for sure loaded. So now we're going to really do what we came here for. So they get them all to come up to the deck and bring all their luggage. And they say to them, okay, you want us to take you to Australia? Give us all your valuables, everything you have. So they go through all their suitcases, whatever, and they start taking out, the menorahs and whatever the valuable things were. And their personal effects, their papers and stuff, they don't care about, they leave them in there. And then they start throwing the suitcases overboard. Right? So the Jews are like, we're done for, Like, imagine what they're thinking. What's going on in Europe? What happened? What have they seen with their eyes? How terrible are things? They finally get out. They get to England. And instead of giving them some type of refuge, they're like, sorry guys, we can't take you. They send them back flying. And then on the journey, right, what happens? The pirates steal all of their valuables and treat them terribly. They're living in squalor. It's terrible. They're only allowed to, they have to all use the same one small place for a bathroom on the ship for the weeks and weeks and weeks that it's going to take to get there. Terrible, terrible conditions, right? And now they've taken all their precious valuables and they threw overboard all of the rest of their stuff, including all of those like sentimentally valuable things, letters and pictures and all this stuff, right? So they're broken, and they're like, this is like, how do we deserve this punishment? And they don't get it, and they're just all broken and sad, right? Anyway, long story short, they get to Australia, they get off, they find freedom, they build families there, and so Rabbi Jax meets them. So however it happens that at a certain point, this ship. There was a German ship that had sunk, and they were able to like lift it back up, and there was like an air pocket in there, whatever, and they were able to get some of the stuff from the captain's quarters out. And they found from in the captain's quarters of the ship's log, right? And so they're reading through the ship's log, and they find that this ship, this German ship, I think U-boat is a term, I don't really know what that means, so whatever, the German boat, right? They encountered on this certain day an unmarked ship in the water, and they were about to torpedo it. They're not showing who they are. Like, we don't know who these people are, what's going on, and there's no flag, there's no nothing. So they're getting ready to shoot the torpedoes at the ship and blow it out of the water. And one of the guys sees with his telescope that he sees that they're like throwing suitcases overboard. But he's like, what are they doing? They don't really know. They don't understand what's happening. And as they're going after the ship, they pick up one of the suitcases and they open it up and they see that there's letters in there. And the letters are written in German. And they say, oh, this is one of our boats, right? German writing in it, don't blow it up. And they let the boat go, right? So these people, like, imagine, like the last letters you had, they were so precious to you, and you think it's literally the worst thing that could possibly happen to you. It's like the end of the world. It's the worst thing. Those sentimentally valuable letters from your loved ones are like thrown overboard, right? Your luggage, everything's gone. You have nothing left. Literally nothing to your name. And it seems like the worst of the worst. And that very, very same action is the thing that Hashem put in place in order to save that person, right? So we don't know. All these things happen, right? The Chochom thinks he's in the worst place now. Why is everybody beating me? Why is everybody kicking me out? Right? And if he would just be able to wake up a little bit and look at the world through emunah-colored glasses, what would he say? He would say, Hashem, I don't know why you're doing this to me. I don't get it. But I have emunah that it's for my best, right? And it's only through sort of the hindsight of these stories that people tell us that we're able to sort of understand how, even though we don't get it, we really, really don't get it. Could you ever have told one of those people on that boat that if they would say now, Hashem, I don't know why you're doing this to me, but I'm sure it's for the best. They couldn't say it. Could you convince them? It would be so hard to convince a person in such a situation that it's for their best. Say thank you to Hashem, right? It looks so terrible. It looks like it's the worst, and really, it was the thing saving them, right? So this is the power of such a way of looking at the world, and this is tamimus, emunah, and it's exactly what the Chochom does not have. It's exactly what he doesn't have, right? Did anybody watch the I think it was the Yoel Gold videos over Tisha B'Av?
Which one?
Yoel Gold? Okay.
What's it about?
If you guys haven't watched Yoel Gold videos, he's like the best guy. Unbelievable. You gotta see this. Anyway, there's one video in that about a true story. The girl is interviewed on the thing. Same thing. She thought all this terrible stuff was happening to her. Even she thought Hashem hated her. Right? And in the end, I have to say it. Just like a quick 2 minutes. It was this girl that she was having trouble. She was like struggling with religion. She grew up in Beit Shemesh in Eretz Yisrael. And nice, wonderful Jewish family, but she was struggling with Judaism. And school, in particular in school, it seemed like they were not treating her right, and they were accusing her of things she wasn't doing, and so she got really turned off. She moved to America, Charlotte, North Carolina, started working there in like one of these like Israeli hand cream type of places, right? And yeah, right. They try to lotion you in the mall. So anyway, she starts making a little bit of money and whatever. She comes back, visits her family a bit, whatever. She has a sense at a certain point. She's been involved in drugs. She's been involved in, in all relationships and all kinds of bad stuff. She has a hirhur that she wants to do tshuva. I'm kitzurifying it a little bit here, and so comes Yom Kippur. What does she do? This girl, she like finds one of her like old like kind of religious dresses, puts it on. She's like, I'm gonna do Yom Kippur. She lights candles for Yom Kippur. She fasts, everything, right? And then something had happened right before that she got involved with a type of scam, and that she thought that it was real. And so she ended up with her phone, like sending money to a certain thing, and it wasn't real, and she like lost this money, and she found out, Motzei Yom Kippur, she finds out that she lost like $400, and she goes to the bank and they can't give it back to her, so she's like, Hashem, I tried to do tshuva, I just came with my full heart, I just tried to do tshuva, I came back to you, I fasted. I started dressing tznius. I lit the candles. I fasted. She spent the whole Yom Kippur saying Tehillim. And she's like, it felt to her as if Hashem just slapped her in the face and said, like, you're out of here. I don't care about you. I don't like you. I don't want you. That's what she thought. She thought Hashem hated her, right? Anyway, fast forward. So a little while later, she goes back to Eretz Yisrael, and long story short, she's in her parents' house, and during Simchas Torah, and it's like the next week, Simchas Torah, and she hears on the radio about what's happening, Simchas Torah, October 7th, in around Gaza over there, and they start to figure out everything that's going on. They hear everything. Anyway, turns out that for her, she had that $400 that she had saved up in a separate account. That was her expense money to go to that music festival. And so she comes Yom Kippur, and she's davening to Hashem. She's doing a serious tshuva. She's fasting, and she thinks Hashem has slapped her in the face. When it's Hashem said, "Oh, sorry, the miracle's done already. You're saved. I'm saving you." Once again, she thought it was like the opposite, and really, it was her complete salvation was from that one thing. Right, so this is what the Tam sees every moment of his life. He's always just looking and saying, "Okay, Hashem's putting me here. Hashem's putting me here. I'm just going to do my best to go with Ratzon Hashem. Doesn't feel right. That's because I don't know. Hashem put me here. I'm supposed to be here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try my best to do it with simplicity, with goodness. Follow Ratzon Hashem, right? And he can find himself on that path. And these two stories the point that really hits home for me today, anyway, very strongly, is these are, especially the one about the boat. Like, it would be impossible to get one of them to listen to you. Don't worry, everything's for the best. Right? They think you're a lunatic. They think you're crazy. This is something that a yid has to have embedded into our minds. We have to have it part of us. This is what it means to be a person of emunah, person of tamimus. I have to be able to think this way, even in those times, because really that's what it is. That's what it is. Amazing. Amazing. Oh, I love that part. So the stubbornness of the Chochom here, he's got to let go. He's got to let go of ego. He's got to let go of control, right? He's got to surrender, and he's not doing it yet. This is what this paragraph is about, and to me, it's very, very, very hard hitting and very powerful and very important. And I thought we would get through a lot more today, but I think that's a good place to stop. Just listen to this. By the way, this could be like my all-time favorite book ever. It's called The Empty Chair. I think it might be out of print. It's printed by BRI, well, one of their versions. This book is just short little quotes in English from all the different Sifrei Breslev. It's very, very sweet. But listen to this. This is titled, Leaving Sadness, Finding Hope and Joy. Rebbe Nachman was shattered, empty. His infant son had just died. Although the Rebbe's closest followers had come to console him, they could not bear to witness his torment and ran from the room. When they returned the next day, the Rebbe said to them, "Had you not run out, I would have told you something beautiful." He then taught a lesson entitled Garden of the Souls, explaining how we can extract meaning from even our greatest suffering. This is what we must do if we are to leave sadness and find hope and joy. So it doesn't get ever worse than when someone loses a child, and he just lost his infant son. And it was at this point that he said, if you just would have stayed a little bit longer with me, right, something beautiful would have come out from it. So it's this little tiny little story over here encapsulates really two things from what we talked about today. First of all, this aspect of even when things are low, right? It's happening for a purpose, and something good is going to be there, whether you see it or not. You're meant to be there. Something good is going to come from it. And the second thing is, I'm adding this in, I think, it's just that you see, whichever person you are, you're the high person or the low person, sometimes just being there. Not thinking, is this person higher? Am I lower? And is it a question of ego? Is it a question of comfort? Whatever it is, but just saying, no, you know what? I just need to be there with this person. That's it. It can be very powerful. So a very sweet story. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you, everybody. Have a great couple of days. Mirz Hashem, we'll see you on Wednesday. So the word is like this. We're having Monday and Wednesday class this week. Next week, I'm away in the wilderness for the week, and then I'm back until Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic, awesome couple of days.